This is Super League Pod. We'll be talking about jumping the rainbow, where to find street urchins, and why tipping is so hard this year. All this week on Super League Pod. Hello and welcome to episode 229 of Super League Pod. I got that bit right to start with, that's good. We've got yet another host combination for you this week. Although we were saying, I think Mark and Tim were saying last week, I think actually this is the last combination, isn't it, we can possibly make amongst the regular hosts.
I think until we go to combinations of three.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we could do that actually. We could get that going.
We could all be rebels and exclude Mark one week.
We're just gradually wheedling this away from him, so it's no longer. But thank you very much for doing the rundown, Mark. It's much appreciated. So for those that don't know, I'm Alan, Bradford Bulls fan, basking in the glory of a great performance in the south of France this week. I'm probably not so happy with the team this week is Sarah, the Hull FC Ultra. How are you doing this week, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm all right, actually. Friday wasn't great, but, it's what we're used to, isn't it? You get a few decent results and then you get a few not so good results.
Well, at least...
And we're still third.
Yeah, unbelievably, you are still third. I think that says more about the league than anything else. Although there's a few teams snapping at your heels, but we'll get to that. Come on, we've got to hear a little bit about Mighton Warriors. That tends to be the way to do it.
Yeah, so Joshua, for the second week in a row, has got Attacker of the Week in his match. So that's good. They played a very good team this week. I'm not going to name the name because not only were they very good, they were also very dirty and thought nothing of punching players laying on the floor. So that wasn't quite so good.
The Ben Flower move.
The Ben Flower move, yeah. He picked on our newest player who's a little bit unpredictable in his responses. Although I can't really blame him throwing a ball in somebody's face in retaliation.
No, I think that's pretty mild in contrast, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So this week, Mighton have been asked to go down to the KCOM on Thursday. So their match is going to be on Wednesday this week, and we're away at East Hull. So we'll see what that brings.
Oh God, you'll be going to the other side of the city. You'll be coming out in a rash.
I know. It's not good.
We talk a lot about Joshua, and quite rightly, but how about the rest of the clan? How are they doing?
Yeah, well, Luke's just taken his grade 1 violin this morning. So we await those results. And he was Joseph with his Technicolor Dreamcoat last week in the school production, which was amazing. And Anna, it has her last ever rainbows tonight, so she is going to jump over the rainbow.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, they have a little rainbow and they jump over it.
All right, okay. It's not jumping the shark. That's something else entirely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, we were talking before we were doing the practicalities of this episode and recording and stuff. We're recording a bit earlier, by the way, just to experiment with an afternoon record. Yeah, so I thought Daisy's drama performance was Friday just gone, but actually that was the dress rehearsal. So it's the full thing this Friday. So it's miss at your peril type thing. So yeah. She's got like a Victorian urchin type outfit. So she's I haven't seen it yet, but we'll see we'll see how that plays out on Friday.
Oh, brilliant.
So lots to talk about this episode. We've got a little bit of feedback about coverage of the sport, which we introduced a bit last week. Loads of news from across all the divisions. Full round of Super League, Championship and League One to talk about. And then not forgetting the Women's Challenge Cup semi-finals, which were interesting games in their own ways. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
I'll let you start. I'll let you do your own plug.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you just get into it.
Okay. So this episode is sponsored by Sarah's Bookcase. Sarah sells Usborne books, and with access to over 3,000 titles from baby to teenager, there's something for everyone. She also works with schools, so please get in touch to find out how you can get free books for local schools. Find out more at www.facebook.com/Sarah's Bookcase.
Very good, yeah, I encourage that. So, yeah, we've talked a little bit about what's in the show. In terms of feedback, we talked about it last week in terms of some concerns about coverage of the sport in the US. But both David Knight and Tristan Fillmore got in touch and both recommended the use of the Fox Soccer Plus channel. Somewhere that still shows all the Sky Sports Super League games and some NRL games, as well as Origin. Apparently, cable providers offer it as a premium sports channel you can add to your package, but not in all cases. It's available with Dish or Direct TV. Hopefully, that'll mean something to you. And,
it means nothing to me.
Well, no, but you know, I have heard of Direct TV in conjunction with things like the NFL and stuff. So it's obviously a provider over there, and apparently through YouTube as well and other streaming platforms, whichever you choose to do. So at least that's a positive that there is at least an option there. That it's not completely cut off. And as kind of as an addendum to that, Karsten's been in touch. Just to say that he was thinking about the League One coverage and realised that you can actually watch more USARL games than the third tier in England. And he poses the question, have the English clubs got to step up, or is streaming overrated? It can't be too expensive because even some amateur clubs do it, and obviously we've seen that. We've talked quite a lot about streaming, but what in terms of specifically about League One clubs, I mean, what do you think what's your opinion on their role in terms of getting their product out there?
Yeah, I think it's something I hadn't thought about, but as you said, as Carsten makes the point, it's not that it's too expensive. So yeah, maybe the clubs in League One need to sort of think about what they're going to do and launch some sort of joint initiative on it or something.
I mean, it's interesting. I think everyone acknowledges that our league has been universally successful, and through that, the clubs do get a degree of coverage. I mean, you just look at, obviously, Coventry had a game last week, but I think that's their first time they've been on our league, which doesn't seem like, I know there's an abbreviated schedule in League One this year, but that doesn't feel like that's often enough to gain the exposure. So part of me thinks that doing it via a platform like our league is the way to do it. Yeah, and it's something I think personally. I've talked separately to people on Twitter about the next kind of TV deal and how we could perhaps break up the packages so that we have anything that doesn't necessarily get picked up in terms of if League One isn't attractive or if the Women's Super League doesn't get included in anything, then we need to make sure that the deals are written in such a way that we as in the RFL can stream them as and when they can do, really, because I think it's a great way to get the game out there in quite a cost-effective way, I would agree. But I
think especially with League One, given they are more geographically diverse around the country, aren't they? So
exactly. To
be able to stream those and get them accessible to people maybe in their local area who wouldn't have thought of going and watching them.
Exactly, yeah. It's a really good point I hadn't thought about, particularly when if and when Ottawa are ready. It's one of those things that, as you say, it has quite a wide spread, so it's probably a very good idea.
Yeah.
Very good. So we'll move on and talk about the news.
So news this week, Featherstone Rovers head coach Ryan Carr has joined the Leeds Rhinos coaching staff as an assistant, working in tandem with his present role. Carr, who is 31, joined Rovers this season, having been involved in the National Rugby League with Souths and Cronulla. The two clubs have had a dual registration agreement in place, which has helped players such as Harry Newman and Alex Sutcliffe develop. His primary focus is with Rovers, Rhinos coach Agar said. However, he will be part of our setup at the start of the week when our workload is particularly high. He has already made a good impression.
Yeah, well, it seems to be bearing dividends if the Friday night's anything to go by. But yeah, I mean, I think the way that Featherstone and Leeds are in each other's pockets, I think it's just it's a further reiteration of that, isn't it? Really,
It's just a rubber stamping of
it's
what was
just a rubber
shown.
stamping of it. Yeah, exactly. Featherstone Rhinos and all that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to a couple of pieces of Castleford news. Castleford have signed Tonga international Sasaya Fekit from the Cronulla Sharks from next season. The 28-year-old, who was part of the Sharks' 2016 NRL Grand Final winning team, has signed a 3-year contract with the Tigers.
Yep, I don't know anything about him. Do you?
I've seen it. He's been in and out at the Sharks this year. I think they've had a couple of really good youngsters come through, so it doesn't surprise me that he was looking for a move elsewhere. A reasonable quality winger, probably better than their two options that they're playing with at the moment, I would say.
Okay, yep. Staying with Castleford, they've signed Salford Red Devils winger Daryl Alferts on a 3-year deal to start from the 2020 season. Wakefield-born Alferts has scored 13 tries in 37 games for Salford since moving from League One side Newcastle for the 2018 campaign. He began his career at Dewsbury and had a stint with Hemel Stags within his 96 career games.
Yeah, so the League One winger getting another chance in Super League. I think this is an interesting one. I don't necessarily see Alfert's being an upgrade on either Clare or Eden. You know, even with Eden's up and down form, I'm not sure he's necessarily any better than that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it just feels a bit like just chipping away at Salford, doesn't it? For maybe not really any real reason.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know who they're going to have left soon, but
No.
but probably in definitely better news for Cas fans. Prop Liam Watts has signed a 3-year extension to his contract with the Tigers. Watts, 28, joined from Hull FC last season, initially until 2020, but will now be with his hometown club until the end of the 2023 campaign. Castleford say Watts turned down interest from NRL clubs to extend his deal, but they always say that, whether it's true or not.
They don't say, who was showing interest, do they?
No, I mean, to be fair, he would be one of those players that they might look at, but I don't know whether at 28, whether maybe he's getting to that age where he's still got a few years left, but whether NRL clubs would take him. They tend to take props who are more development kind of potential, the kind of the Coopers of this world and the Burgeye while they were still relatively young. I think Graham's probably the exception that proves the rule, but yeah, I would say he's probably a top end Super League is probably his level. I would say,
yeah,
average Super League.
In our subcategory of Castleford news,
it's all Castleford news this week.
Yeah, head coach Darryl Powell has extended his contract until the end of the 2022 season. He took charge in 2013 and has overseen Castleford's transformation from Super League strugglers to one of the competition's leading clubs. Where did you get this, Mark?
That's definitely a press release. That's
Under Powell, Tigers reached the 2014 Challenge Cup final and won the League Leaders' Shield in 2017, and nothing else.
And that's it. Yeah, and he seems to be leading them back into mediocrity. But yeah. Obviously there were lots of speculation about Powell and his next destination. That's obviously been put to bed now with his contract, you would say. What do you think?
I don't know. I think I would question where he's going to take them next. He took them up, sort of in success, and they had obviously that great season. But yeah, what's he going to do with them now? Because things don't seem to be going too well.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what next year's signings do and what they bring.
Yeah, I mean, well, we already know 3 players who are definitely going to be there that we've just announced. I think, it feels like they're a little bit in transition again. He's not necessarily a bad player, bad coach to kind of lead them, but having said that, he did build it in the first place. So
Yeah,
Yeah, you
it's
know,
an
because
interesting one.
yeah, because it's going to be